Let's talk about my relationship to independence as somebody who's a disabled adult. Hi, my name is Charlie. I am autistic with moderate support needs, as well as having some various chronic illnesses. I always feel like I am kind of sitting in an almost no man's land when it comes to support and the ways I receive it. I rarely see people with my same experiences sharing them. In some ways my goal is always to improve my independence and I'm working towards this in a variety of different ways. That being said, it doesn't just come like that. And I've had to kind of come to this conclusion that even if I do get independent on some levels, which I have gotten more independent in a variety of different ways, like I said, I have some care needs revolving both being autistic and being chronically ill. With my electric wheelchair, I am able to propel myself anywhere without the assistance of others. We continue to explore my needs for mobility. There are certain things that I do now that I wasn't able to do before that I've had to work up to be able to do for myself. And those are things like remember to take my medications, for example. And so let's get into some of the ways where I simply lack independence. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just simply is what it is. And I just don't see a lot of people talking about it super candidly. So, hi, my name is Charlie, and I'm unable to drive. And I also live in kind of a desert for either trains, tracks, buses, anything. All of it's quite bad. In addition, the bus stops is not on anything paved. Hi, I'm in a wheelchair. And I don't know if I was to even wait on the side of the road, I don't know how they would pick me up or drop me off with the ramp. So I'm wholly dependent on my spouse to get me from point A to point B. There is a small chance in the future I may be able to drive, but let's say that that happens. I at this point in time and probably forever, I don't think that will ever change. I am unable to lift my electric wheelchair on my own because it's 60 pounds, which for an electric wheelchair and everything that it does is not as bad as some, but it's still too heavy for me. Right now I have a blue streak from for inside and I think it's around 24 pounds, and I'm looking at a few of like lighter wheelchairs that might make that a little bit easier. But for right now, again, I need somebody to assist me because, again, we don't have money for a lift, things like that. Um, I don't know how much insurance would really kick back, like 50%. It maybe. It's difficult. And so basically, without the assistance of others, I'm unable to leave my home. While I'm able to communicate with you guys, I struggle to communicate live on like phone calls because I can't there's no subtitles, and I can't prepare for everything that's going to come on the phone, and it's extremely difficult for me to hear, take it in, and be able to give like functional answers. And so I need assistance with some things like phone calls. Again, talking like my medication. I am really bad about taking care of myself totally. Maybe online it doesn't come across like this, but really it's taken a lot for me to need and remember to take my medication that literally is like required for me to continue to live the way I'm living. But I also forget other things. This could also be autistic traits for some people. I will get really enveloped in things, so I will do things like forget to eat. And so this is also kind of where I also have things like my service dog as like a support system, because if not, I would not even remember probably to feed myself sometimes. And so I have needs. Uh, where basically I struggle to care for myself, and it's not that I don't know how. It's just simply I lose track of it somehow, and I don't know how else to explain it other than I do. I also have a hard time keeping track of like dates, times, numbers, things like that, addresses. I would get lost in the town that I was brought up in and spent like 23 years of my life, and so I need help and assistance with navigation, or else I get really, really, really lost. An example of when I didn't have this is one time, so back when I lived in Utah, and this is all allegedly, like maybe this happened, I'm not entirely sure, but there's a free section of the tracks in Utah, and I was trying to stay on the tracks in that free section to kind of hop to another area. Well, baby, I messed up. And I went all the way from Salt Lake City to Draper. And if you don't know, like they're close, but let's just say I was far out of the free zone and very, very afraid, and I had to get off at some random stop. I don't even know. I think I eventually ended up getting out in like West Valley and had to turn around. It was like the wildest thing. And again, then I'm like asking strangers, like, where does this train go? I am not good at navigating. I'm not good at navigating myself, and so I also need assistance with this. And while my service dog also assists me with a lot of things, there's also certain things that it makes difficult. And so my spouse also does help with that. And so we've gone to things like the theater. And so for me, it would take a lot for me to get in and out of, say, so like our movie theater door is too heavy for me to lift on my own. And so I could not take her to the restroom independently. Like I could not go see a movie independently with my service dog. There's like a lot of things I just need to rely on. I could go by myself if I have somebody open the door for me. There's like so many things that I need like direct assistance and help with, and I don't think that there's any shame in that. So I again also have help with, I can't lift things over a certain amount, so a lot of times with like pulling the laundry out and stuff, I also need assistance. I have a lot of assistance from my spouse, and I'm eternally grateful that I do have that because some people do not. But I would be lying to you if I was ever to come on here and say that I do everything independently, or that if I've ever like portrayed that. Because really, at the end of the day, I'm somebody who struggles to feed themselves, struggles to remember their medications, struggles to remember anything, gets lost very, very easily, needs assistance when leaving the home, things like that. And so it's kind of hard to take that all in through an app, I guess. And while I'm the primary person who keeps the house clean, there's also certain things, like I said, like the laundry, which I just simply can't keep up with on my own. I maintain like this bathroom, but every so often I do ask for assistance with the deep clean so that it can get really, really, really good scrubbed. But there's a lot of things I can do. Like I said, I maintain most of the house, but there's some things like I just need assistance for, like changing the air filters and things like that. And so while I am disabled and there's a lot that I need help with, there's a lot that I can do independently. And I think we kind of forget that sometimes, that it doesn't mean that it's universally applied. And I don't know, ask the disabled person in your life what they do and don't need. And when you do and don't need to intervene, or just like ask them, like, hey, you need help. I think that just like would go far in a lot of scenarios as a disabled person anyway. But being disabled and being reliant on others also doesn't necessarily mean incapable either, is also a point I'm trying to drive home. Is I'm capable of many things. There's just certain things I do need assistance for. And I, through my own lived experiences and with medical help and whatever, can dissect and figure out what those are and figure out how to work with them or what I need to do to better take care of myself.